Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Leadership Series by Softensity. My name is Monika Mueller, Senior Vice President of Softensity. And today I have the honor of talking to Molham Aref, CEO and founder of Relational AI. Hi, Molham. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you, yes. How are you?
Good. Enjoying the sunshine here in sunny Atlanta. I'm hoping you've got sunshine on the West Coast as well.
I do. It's the sun actually might be become visible here shortly. So
we'll send it back our way tomorrow, please.
Okay.
So Molham, we've known each other for a few years, I would say. Had the honor of working with you in the various organizations that you've been involved with. And one of the reasons we're so excited to have you in this series is your vast experience, not only working with enterprise companies, but working with and starting your own companies. And I think that gives you an absolute unique perspective to understand the IT needs and challenges for companies of all sizes and stages of maturity. So thank you once again for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Molham, introduce yourself to our listeners. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Let's see. So I'm an engineer by education. I went to Georgia Tech. I spent 30 years in Atlanta and was very fortunate to be part of companies that were started out small and then had success and had good exits. One of the first companies I worked for was a company called HNC Software, or Heck Nielsen Neurocomputing. They were a San Diego-based company, but they had an office in Atlanta, and I worked for them there. And had an IPO in 1995 that was very successful. Another was a company called Retech. IPO'd in November of 1999, and then I helped start a couple of companies in Atlanta that each had nice exits, one to Ericsson, the other to Infor. And I'm now in Silicon Valley. I'm starting a new company called Relational AI, working with some of the same people I work with over the years, and also with new people that I'm meeting here in Silicon Valley.
What drove you to start Relational AI, and tell our listeners a little bit about the company?
So I've been doing what today we would call machine learning since the early 90s in Atlanta. It hasn't always been called machine learning. It used to be called data mining or database mining or neural networks, computational intelligence. So, as we all know, certain technologies get hyped up, and there's a tendency to overpromise and then underdeliver, and so the hype cycles go up and down. But the trend has been very much up and to the right when it comes to machine learning, even though there have been sort of localized hype cycles. And I built and helped build large sophisticated applications for large retailers, large banks, large telecommunications companies. And I've experienced firsthand the pain involved in building and maintaining and supporting these applications and evolving them as business needs change. And I felt I never had the right kind of platform, the right kind of infrastructure to make these types of applications that we've been building easy to build. Just too much time, too much money, not enough capability. And having that experience has shaped my thinking about the kind of technology that's needed. And my partners and I here in Silicon Valley, I think we have the next iteration of that kind of technology, what we're calling relational knowledge graph management systems, that will make it an order of magnitude easier, cheaper, faster to build sophisticated, predictive, analytical data applications, as they're called today. And so we want to bring that vision to life. And we've been at it for 3 years. We have some wonderful early customers, brands that you would know and recognize, big companies in telco and in retail and in tax and audit space, in financial services. So we're very excited about the work that we're doing and establishing this new category.
It's wonderful. Cheaper, faster is definitely going to catch the attention of our viewers. If I was a CEO of a company, startup or mid-sized or large, what would be some pain points that knowledge graphs would be able to address? When would I know as an IT leader in an organization but knowledge graphs is something I might need to internalize and understand better.
So I think this can apply to a company of any size. Any company that's been around at least for a while has picked up some baggage. There's legacy. There are applications that are either homegrown and are old enough now where the people who worked on them are no longer involved, no longer around, and they need to be digitally transformed. They need to be moved into this new world that's AI first, cloud first.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of just taking something built in your old Java, Oracle technology or C# SQL Server technology and just doing an incremental migration to the new world without really rethinking it or really simplifying it, given what's available today. I think that's kind of a big opportunity to work with a company like ours. We have great success stories. One of the customers that our firms worked on together took a legacy app that was written in 800,000 lines of C# and God knows how many lines of SQL, and we replatformed it and digitally transformed it onto a relational knowledge graph management system in less than 10,000 lines and in a quarter's worth of work. And the solution does more than the solution we replaced. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what, most people don't know, that you can get that kind of improvement and simplification. And they kind of just out of habit just continue to use the same technology that they used 30 years ago, 20 years ago, in the context of the cloud and machine learning and in a world where you can do it much more simply, get more value. It's not just cheaper and faster, it's better.
Mm-hmm.
It solves more business problems, it solves them better.
Right.
If you just allow yourself to step back and rethink in terms of this new way of building solutions.
So if I'm a CIO and I've got a legacy application that's very data centric, and I'm thinking of how do I reduce the footprint of this application? How do I build more robust capability? Knowledge graphs is something I should explore as an option.
Yeah.
What skill sets would I need, Molham, for that? Could I do it with the traditional IT skill sets I have in-house today, or would it require me to rethink my labor pool?
I think you have to rethink your labor pool a little. There are people who are going to be excited about learning something new and doing it in a way that's 10 to 100 times better, and there will be people who will just be comfortable with, this is the way I've always done it, and can't, don't bother me with any newfangled stuff, right? And so you need at least a critical mass of people who are curious and are, interested in doing it better.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have to be. It's not, it's not 30 years experience. It's not no experience. It's sort of more of a mindset than it is a specific education or a specific number of years of experience.
And if I wanted to learn more about knowledge graphs and perhaps even the product or capabilities you're bringing into the market, how would I go about doing that? What would be my first, second steps?
So the term knowledge graphs was made popular by Google when in May 2012, they announced the Google Knowledge Graph. And so this is the structure that Google uses to answer certain searches. When we go search, for example, for Atlanta, if you type in Atlanta in the Google search, you'll see a bunch of links that take you to websites that talk about Atlanta. But on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see this panel that will say, Atlanta is located here, has a population of so many people, it has this kind of weather, it has these companies are there. That's all structured information that Google created by crawling the web and mapping it to a knowledge graph. So when they announced this, technology, they blogged about it. There's an article that they wrote called "Things Not Strings." So the Google knowledge graph, things not strings. Look for that, and that will be a good entry point for you to learn more about knowledge graphs. And of course, there are conferences like the Knowledge Graph Conference that's held out of New York, Columbia University. I think they'll be having the next one in May. and given that we're all operating with Zoom and web conferencing now, it's very easy to participate in events like that. Of course, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you at Relational AI, and we'd love to, talk to you about our experience in using knowledge graphs to solve really hard problems, and to do that quickly and efficiently with better answers.
Wonderful. Is there an adoption component, you think, Molham, to this sort of a radical approach of modernization? I'm thinking not only the skill set component we talked about, but do I need alignment from business stakeholders? Do I need an infrastructure footprint that's different? I'm imagining we need less infrastructure support. I'm thinking about what would it take to make something like this come to life in my organization?
Yeah, so I hope I don't scare anybody in the audience, but in a way, the business people are the biggest fans of this kind of transformation, because you've taken a bunch of knowledge that's is in their head that used to be you had to code it up in Java or C# or some language like that, and that they could no longer see anymore. Like they had to rely on technologists to take this knowledge and this expertise that they have in their head and codify it. And now we've taken that knowledge and made it accessible to them directly. Mm-hmm. So from an IT point of view, the IT person can engage the business person in a much more fun and constructive and productive way than you could when you have all this technology that has all this accidental complexity to it that sort of got in the way of everyone speaking the same language. So I find that the business people are much more excited because the models that we produce in these knowledge graphs are models they can look at and they can understand and they can weigh in on. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Is there a self-service component as well? If IT were to stand up such a capability, could the business and consume, and also other IT stakeholders, can consume sort of on demand?
Yeah, so that's exactly where I think the world is going. So we've, if you've seen the trends are very much towards self-service. And so, this whole move towards cloud computing, you no longer have to worry about setting up servers and so on and creating a dependency on people who do that. You can, provision as many machines as you want from your favorite cloud provider. Same for applications and adoption of the SaaS model. So the evolution, the natural evolution of that are taking people who are very comfortable in Excel or SQL and letting them serve the business logic or express their knowledge in a way where they don't have to tell the computer step by step what to do to compute something. They just say, I'm interested, in all my clients who live in a certain area who've bought more than $100 worth of goods from me in the last 3 months. That's just a question that a business person can ask the computer, and they don't have to code it up, tell the computer exactly what to do to answer that question. And so that's definitely a trend that we're seeing. In some cases, people will call that low code or no code. Mm-hmm. Those systems that are low code, most low code, no code systems are ad hoc. They're not built on a solid foundation like a relational knowledge graph. And so this is the idea, sort of taking elements of that idea and then putting on a very solid footing. Yeah. So the same system can also serve your reporting needs and do your analytics and your machine learning and your predictions and all of that. One system.
So Siri for the business place. Love it.
In a sense, Siri itself, when you ask Siri, hey Siri, what's the weather like outside? It's actually using the Apple knowledge graph about the world to answer that question. So I mentioned Google, but Apple is big on knowledge graphs. Amazon's big on knowledge graphs. Microsoft, all the major technology players basically have a knowledge graph now. Microsoft has multiple. LinkedIn, they have all the connections between people on LinkedIn, but they also have an Office 365 knowledge graph and so on. So it's definitely core to the infrastructure all the big tech companies are building right now.
That's fantastic. It's exciting, Molham, to see you on the front end of this emerging technology and bringing the solution into mainstream business. And you can use the term business Siri for business if you'd like.
Okay, I will put a little trademark Monika underneath that. So.
Molham, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for sharing all your knowledge in this space. I found the conversation very interesting, and it's going to lead me to read some of the articles that you have recommended for us. So I appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Monika.